to Into the Mind of Madness, where this week, it's not going to be my madness. It's going to be somebody else's madness. Somebody's got some quality insanity for us this week. I am joined this week by the first ever, two in a row, two-time Rock World Cup champion, Mr. Daniel Powell. Say hello to everybody, Daniel.
Hey, everybody. Good evening.
So we're gonna spend a little time finding out, the history of Mr. Daniel Powell, including a little bit of what we missed last year, as I was supposed to do this with you last year, and I got really busy myself and really started to fall apart on things. So, kind of a double whammy, as it were, because we have two Rock World Cups to sort of talk about.
Yeah, it's okay. I still don't cry my sleep. I still don't cry myself to sleep every night because of the pain of missing it last year.
Oh, I'm sure it's quite fine, and you yourself being a fellow podcaster, I'm sure you can handle missing one or two here or there.
Yeah,
Save your
it's
voice.
all good. It's all good.
All right, but without further ado, we always have to start these champ chats the same way. Daniel Powell, where do you come from in the world of HeroClix? How did you start the game, and what got you into competitive play?
So, my HeroClix career started at about May of 2014. I collect action figures. I collect memorabilia, that kind of stuff of Marvel. Iron Man's my favorite character ever. War Machine as well. And we would go around to the flea markets and collector malls and that sort of thing, and they'd have these little figures, right? These little 1.5 2 inch tall figures, and my wife would tell me, "Hey, you should buy some of those." I said, "No, we can't buy those. We can't do it. That's a game. It's a collectible game. Once you buy one, you got to buy them all." And well, over that summer, we went to vacation in Seattle, Washington, and which is on the other side of the country from me. We took a big vacation over there, and kind of had bought a couple of packs before, and we went to Seattle, and man, they had a really welcoming community for us, and they just were giving us stuff, right? So we had our suitcase like pretty much full of HeroClix when we left, right? They were giving us LEs, and some of these things I still have today. So over that summer of 14, I participated, learned how to play the game, participated, and I think my first full set release then would have been Guardians of the Galaxy. And then competitive play really started almost immediately. My foray was a little tournament at a convention that was ran by what I now know to be some of the guys that was running rock events out in Eastern Kentucky. And you know what? I said, I'd kind of like to try this thing, but let's start out something small, right? Let's see if this community is something I want to be a part of. So participated in a little convention tournament out there. Those guys were super welcoming, really made the community, and they're some of my friends now to this day. And then they can say it kind of all went downhill from there. Very quickly in April of 15, I won my first rock trial. That was Brother Voodoo and Kyle Rayner together. Such funness, such fond memories there. Then 15 was my first Rock Cup, where I didn't even make it out of semis. And then from that year, I guess I kind of gained some notoriety in some of the events that I topped in. I continually topped, and 16 Rock Cup, I made 4th place. And then, of course, 17 finally broke through. 16 into 17 won some major events, and followed that up with Rock Cup. And now 17 to 18, I don't know, I think I've won 3 Super Qs this year, 2 states, 2 or 3 WKOs, and now defended my Rock Cup title. So
Awesome. Now you, in addition to that notoriety you're talking about as a player, you've gained something of a notoriety as a practicer. You're quite I mean, in our last show last week, you were saying you practiced something around 300 hours just for this Rock Cup alone.
Yeah, so I mean, what I'm counting in there is I'm counting the three Super Qs
Mhm.
that I played. No, sorry, two Super Qs I played Starro in because that was Canada. No, it was three. Sorry, it was Canada, Little Rock. I'm sorry, Chicago/Canada because PJ played it in Chicago. I played it in PJ played it in Canada. I played it in Chicago that same weekend. Little Rock and Lexington, drive time to all of those events, and then practice as well. Because the drive time, I'm on the phone, and I talked to PJ several times during that travel, um, and just so practice prep, talking about maps, talking about all of those little individual game elements for the team. I'm pretty sure you saw in our Majestics chat where Paris had asked why the Banshee ID, right? If it wasn't for Goblin King, would you have played Banshee? And I said that, absolutely. Um, he was there for a certain reason. So all of that was a complete package.
Mhm.
And man, it did. It took me every moment. I think there was something that I learned throughout all of that practice that I can probably point out in each individual match that I played Sunday.
Awesome. Well, that all kind of leads into the actual Rock World Cup. You obviously went in qualified to the final berth, and probably you played in the team sealed as well.
Hmm.
How'd you fare in that?
We ended up second.
Nice, pretty good weekend
So
for you.
yeah, it was pretty good. So I played with my teammate Lane Miller and my wonderful wife Samantha, and Lane and I don't like sealed. But we before this event, we both said we were going to make commitments to get better at sealed. So during the Battle World pre-releases, we studied dials more, studied team building. We talked a little bit about combos and good keywords and all this other stuff, and it's like the best laid plans, and then we pull the crap out of our boosters. Like I played Common Iron Man, Tony Stark Inventor, and Super Rare Thanos. Sam had Maestro, World Breaker Hulk, and Thanos Duplicate, and Lane had Destroyer Thor, two Sheriff Steves, Nico Manura, and one of the common Thors with enhancement in the PD ability. Um, so we ended up just pulling like crazy good. Like all of our teams have prob. Sam has prob from name theme team. I have Thanos, who's just a freaking cannon in the set. Sam doesn't have such a great day in sealed. She only wins one round in Swiss, and then the last round in finals, she wins. She beats Paris in about 10 minutes. Um, so it was quick, right? Like the Hulk just mutilated Paris's Thors, and I'm playing against Adam Friedman, and I just whiff a 6 to work on his common prime Thanos. And his Iron Goblin was the first thing. He had Iron Goblin, common prime Thanos, and a Thanos duplicate. And I nuke Iron Goblin, poof. 7 damage, he's gone. The common prime Thanos, I couldn't hit a 6 on him, but it's okay. In hindsight, I am not concerned about that because I needed a better dice roll the next day, and it came through.
Excellent.
And Lane had played Matt Esbrook, and Regent is just he's a boss, and Lane poured everything he had into Regent and just couldn't get it done. But that's okay.
Mm. Now, as far as sealed, before we move to the main event, whoops. How do you feel about the state of sealed in the game of HeroClix right now? Do you think we've come a long way from? I'd say Trinity War was probably the worst set for sealed to where we are now.
Ooh, I see. I think Battle World is still an unbalanced set
Okay.
for sealed. Um, what, and I think AI was maybe a little bit more balanced of a set for sealed, even though it had the colossals, but all of the colossals packed a punch in that set.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Battle World is that balanced. Because you look, my team had super rare. Lane's team had a super rare. Matt Esbrook's team had a super rare. Um, and then Adam Friedman's team had the common prime. Um, so, it's one of those things where good players get good pools, and we do pretty well. I think this is one of those sets. Maybe X-Men wasn't so much of that. Right. I mean, the headmasters didn't have, they weren't so overpowered and sealed
Yeah.
comparatively. And then like the rest of but this Battle World is like stacked. It is a full of outwit, full of printed 4, printed 11s, outwit. I think I said that already, but it's a power set, and it's, I think one of the quote that I'll still use is what I used in my set review for it was, it is a team builder set. You can, for sealed, you can get down in the dirty and build a heck of a good team with 6 boosters, most likely.
Yeah. That is a key to Team Sealed. And if just a quick one off, because the two most recent sets being Batman the Animated Series and Secret Wars Battle World. If you were to choose between the two 14 worlds at the WizKids worlds, what would you, if you had that deciding power, which would you prefer?
See, this is the answer where I'd say I prefer Secret Wars.
Fair enough. Okay.
Because again, that comes back to me not being a huge fan of sealed. So a little bit less finesse, chisel and file, and a little bit more sledgehammer is my style. So
Okay, that's cool. Okay, so now it's the most important part, the main event. Take us through the story as you like to tell it, through the Swiss rounds, through the finals, and how you got to this year's victory.
oh man, so I'll start out with the team first.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I played 100-point convention exclusive Starro. I played Chase Star Fox from Avengers Infinity, convention exclusive Lockjaw, super rare Groot from Avengers Infinity, Mjolnir, and I played 4 ID cards: Banshee with XXS rare Banshee, Chase Student Iceman with Chase Iceman, Student Gene with Chase Gene, Student Cyclops with Chase Cyclops and super rare Cyclops, and then 4 Super Friends, 2 Firestorms, a Flash, and a Wonder Woman. So I only mentioned the rarity of all those things because someone pointed out to me that my team had 9 chases on it. And you got to count the Super Friends.
Yep.
And nothing on my team was below a super rare, which I think really drives the point home of the better stuff is at the higher rarities, like our good friends at WizKids told us they would be making it. But no, it's a super fun team. It's a +4 cosmic theme team. I did win last year's Rock Cup with Unimind, who was a cosmic piece, and I've had some more success with him in cosmic theme teams throughout the year. So it's just really one of my, and I think what's fun about it is part of the story goes is I enjoy the cosmic stories. Galactus, the Starro, the Green Lantern Corps, the major. The Eternal story is something I've come to enjoy. So all of these other sort of otherworldly stories in comics and in the cartoons and that sort of thing. So I get to play that in the HeroClix. So it's a double whammy of awesome for me personally. Um, so Swiss rounds and top 32. I only dropped one round, which was round one. I lost by 6 points. And this gentleman was from Texas. I don't have his name in front of me, but he played ADW Iron Man, Hawkeye, 3 Fast Forces Giant Girls, a main set Giant Girl, a Mudman, Harley ID, and Storm ID.
It's a
And
heck
I
of a
lost
team.
by 6 points.
Huh.
So I'd lost map. We went to Muir Island. I was able to KO the Mudman, the Giant Girls, the Hawkeye, and everything but just one main set Giant Girl and the ADW Iron Man, because I had a chance to get rid of Hawkeye, but I had to get retailed on, and those Fast Forces Giant Girls killed my Starro.
Oh man.
So it was 123 to 120. And I had a chance to call out Gene on last round to sit Penetrating Psychic Blast, the main set, for 4 damage. And I couldn't hit 7. But it's okay. I think it's one of those things that all things happen for a reason. So I don't stress about that loss. Kind of the practice that I was talking about. I may not have practiced against an ADW Iron Man at some point.
I don't think anybody in the world has.
Right. He actually made top cut. He lost in 32, right next to me. So he was actually a higher seed than I was.
His name is Steven Sendejas.
Yes, that's it. Steven Sendejas. I think he's from Austin or Baytown or Houston, somewhere in the lower part of Texas. And, Steven piled that team really well. So no, it's okay. I mean, it set me on the path, right? 3-1. I knew that I wasn't going to get a lot of points just based on the field, right? There was a lot of Floor Colossus, a lot of stop clicks, a lot of shredders, a lot of X-Men. So the points were not going to be coming for my team. The team can wipe other teams fairly easily, but it just was not. I could just sense in the room, that was my gut feeling, that it was not going to be a high point day. So 3-1 was my goal. So round 2, I go against Chris Stockhouse, who's playing a +9 Cosmic theme team. I think he's got a whole forest of Floras, Star Fox, Lockjaw, Groot, Mangog. I'd played a similar team, but instead of the multiple Floras, I was playing Pip the Troll in a boxing ring. Chris just cut out all that nonsense and made the team better and played more Floras. So we were on the Flashpoint Flood. He won map. I was able to advance and kill his Groot early, but I knew that I had to get some other points, because if he just comes over and kills my Groot, then I lose 23-20. So I was able to continue the flood of Starro fights, and basically the game come down to a Flora hit the 9 on Mangog, and because he had healed up a bunch of clicks. I think it was on like click 11. So it had like charge, 10 attack, 3 damage, and his own Flora KO'd the Mangog. So I knew that all I had to do was just keep Lockjaw, Star Fox, and Starro alive. And it had taken a while to get to that point, right? Because he's moving a bunch of Floras, sidestepping Floras, healing Floras, right? So his team inherently eats up a lot of time, which is fine. I mean, it's just how that team works. Chris played it very well, but it was one of those things like I gotta have one in this one. So the next round was Lucas Tom Van Holland playing the Colossal Hawkman, the Colossal Hawk Guy. with Hawkeye, obviously, Wasp, part of the Avengers, um, Star Fox, Old Man Cap, the tank, couple IDs, couple giant girls. Essentially, he did not have Mjolnir actually. Um, so that was the big thing, right? Is with this team, I can't get tank dropped. He can shoot Star Fox, drop the tank, I'm dead. So I have to. I actually win map. We go to the Bifrost, my first map win of the day, and we I equip and I get Star Fox out in the middle of nowhere. It was funny. I actually asked Lucas for his tank base, and I'm like, I know I'm helping you out here, Lucas, but I placed Star Fox down. Like, I think this is where I want to place Star Fox, and I took his tank base and went all around Star Fox, and was like, okay, you're not tanking Star Fox from here. So sent out the fleet of Patricks. For anyone that's watched the stream, there was McDonald's toys from the mid 2000s that were Patrick stars from SpongeBob SquarePants. I glued them onto Pogs that have the stats of the Starro fights on there. PJ actually has the other half of the set. But anyway, so when I mention Patrick's, I mean Starro fights that Starro spawns. But essentially, right, I knew that either one of two things were going to happen. He was going to TK out and shoot me, or the Starro fights were going to be allowed to harass him. Either way, Hawkeye has to come across the map. Hawkeye came across the map, shooting my Starro fights. I kill his Hawkeye pretty quickly thereafter. The retail comes. Starro handles it a little bit better, but Starro does die that game. But this time I did not do the ADW Iron Man game mistake. I did have enough points there to withstand the final onslaught. I mean, he didn't have Mjolnir, so that gave me a little bit more protection as far as game pacing went, late game. But it was one of the first times I walked Wasp and the giant girl into the Bifrost to KO him, I believe. There at the very end. But it was good. Lucas played the team really well, but again, it was low points, right? I think it was just that one may have been my highest pointed game, like at 200 points. And then round 4, right? This was another must-win game. I play Michael Hilton, who's playing pretty much the Starro mirror. He has a few different IDs and super friends. And the Starro mirror is it's a positioning game. It's a pacing game. Who's going to go out first? Who's going to go get the Groot? I was really worried about this game. But really, it came down to Michael, I want to say mistakenly called out a Super Friend Batman. He had that Super Friend Batman poison a Starro fight. And Groot smash. Groot retailed on Batman and then punched his Groot. And that was pretty much the sum of it. I ended up KOing his Apache Chief that he called out later. Mike knew that as soon as he did that poison and passed his turn, I was like, I should have this if I can roll a 6 and a 7. So I went in 17th seed into the top 32. I was 3rd seed last year at 4-0. This year was 17th seed at 3-1. With the round of 32, I had to play my teammate David Gosselman, who I was not happy with. He was 16th seed, but he was playing, so I can't fault him, but he was playing full point Goblin King with the start car and the map bonus and a Cyclops ID. So legitimately, there's no strategy for this game. I equip Mjolnir, I run up, I base him I get Walking Woods in place. Starro. The real thing for this matchup is Chase Iceman goes, or I'm sorry, Chase Cyclops goes to 100 and Gene goes to 90. Because the only thing really Starro is going to be doing is calling out and maybe throwing him into the Bifrost. I was able to get a retail off with Groot and get a third Walking Wood.
Yep.
I legitimately, between the 3 Walking Woods and Star Fox, flurried Goblin King 40 times. That's no exaggeration. That's no me overcompensating. After the match, Dave and I counted them out. I used both Pulse Wave call-ins. I used Gene, which he shape changed out of Gene. Chase Cyclops did the final shot into Super Senses and shape change while he was on his 75-point click starting line. I mean, I was hitting some good rolls. I told Dave before we started the game, I was like, Dave, wagged my finger at him. I said, I got some crit hits for you. I rolled 3 in that game.
Jeez.
But out of 40 attacks, right? And that's and the ID cards and the Lockjaw Pulse Waves, I weren't counting in that. So probably closer to 50 total attacks were thrown into Goblin King. I mean, I locked him down with plasticity from 3 Walking Woods. So it was back down to a 1 with his symbiote. He even phased away and regened. He actually went down to the 75-point dial, back up to full, then back down to KO.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where I told Dave he wasn't going to Goblin King me out of time. I was like, you're either phasing, running, or regening. Which one you going to do? And, you know, Dave did the manly thing and stood there and fought. I mean, I had Star Fox on sidestep. You know, he was mobile. Lockjaw landed, Lockjaw did his part and rolled a 2 and stayed on Pulse Wave the whole game. And Prob. So I had everything set up correctly. That one turned out in my favor. It was probably one of my hardest matches of the day. Probably second hardest, I would say. Round of 16, I had to face another teammate, Tyler Spees, who was playing his monster team, two Namor Whales, Mini Shredder, 2 Groots, 2 Carnages, a Surtur, Harley ID, Cyclops ID, Jean Grey ID, the full suite of regular customers there. 2 Wolverines, the Headmaster and the Wanted. I'd played this matchup several times. I'd practiced with Tyler quite a bit. This matchup came down to early game. I rolled a 6 on his Chase Cyclops to KO his Star Fox, to KO my Star Fox. I hit the 6. Thank the dice that be. I hit the 6. Tyler was a bit devastated. I mean, it was an 11 on a 21. He rolls an 11. I had the up defense, but I hit the 6. So that game came down to last round. Firestorm was on the map and dual targeted EE'd 2 Groots and a Surtur to score me 65 points and pull me ahead. I had a rather complex turn to get Jean Grey into place and to get another Firestorm out for the Prob because he had outwitted my Prob on Lockjaw. I did all of that work, and I was like, Firestorm's at a 12 attack because he had rolled his Super Friend trait to damage himself. And I was like, okay, I got like 3 chances to roll a 6 here. And I just hit it on the first attack. So the best laid plans of dice and men, one might say.
Yeah.
Top 8 was Easton Brock. his team was a mismatch. It's on Majestic's website. He played the same thing Paris played. Haha Joker, Ironheart, Angel, Loki's staff, Sam Cap, Groot, and a Power Woman. So early game, that one we played on the Bifrost. Tyler's game was played on the Star Trek Underground, for what it's worth.
Okay.
We played on the Bifrost. Mind controlled, got a hit off on Ironheart. I got a Walking Wood all the way to his starting area, and I used my Starfight to try to throw an object at Groot. Just to see, I have to crit hit, but I threw it just to try to see if I could crit hit. Well, Easton ended up retallying on my Starfight and KOing it. That allowed my Groot to retell on his Groot. I dropped a Walking Wood and then KO'd his Power Woman. So the game's going in my favor. I did admittedly make a misposition to where Easton was able to get a Chase Cyclops off on my Star Fox. But I rolled a 6.
Yep.
Yep. So, and props to Easton for getting into that position, but I hit the 6. I'm not going to complain. So from there, right, the momentum was already in my favor. The Chase Cyclops thing was a way to get Easton to get the momentum back in his favor. From there, I had a little bit of just dice luck to KO the rest of his team. The Easton's pacing really got off from that point when rolling at 6. I had a Walking Wood roll an 11 on his Sam Cap when he needed to. I was like, the flurry was essentially free, and the Walking Wood hit the 11. He was like, that's dumb. I'm like, well, it happened. So
yes, exists. Yes.
yeah, 11s exist. It's just not very often that they exist. But I ended up KOing his Sam Cap, and then last round, Easton was like, I am upset. So he just ran his Angel at my whole team and blew him up. And I had already won, and the Angel wasn't going to win him anything. But it was game from there. So top 4, I had to play my teammate Lane Miller in the mirror match again.
Yeah, because that happened in the top 4 last year too.
Absolutely. We had played the exact same team last year, and we played the exact same team this year. And our game came down to it was going to be a roll-off there for a while because we were both jockeying for position. He uses an ID to kill my Groot. I use an ID to kill his Groot. So we're 23-23. But Starro, Star Fox, and Lockjaw are all on click 1. So the click off now becomes another roll off.
Yeah.
And Lane on last round decides that he's going to go to win it. So he calls out Chase Cyclops. Or I'm sorry, not Chase Cyclops, Super Rare Cyclops. So if he doesn't get this, he loses. So he hits my Star Fox for 3, goes and flurries with the Walking Wood, misses, and that's pretty much game. If the Walking Wood hits, he can mind control me with Star Row and throw me into the Bifrost. I think obviously the roll off is the better odds. Nobody's going to doubt that, but just outright winning is also more glorious in infamy. But so the last round was Tom Kerr. I'm kind of expecting like a Tom Kerr to like pop in here at some point because
he's actually nowhere even close to an internet connection right now. So
oh, gotcha. Um, but this game was my only game on stream that I had played during finals. Um, and this was one of those other things. This is where practice comes into play. So the team was Tom's team, was the Green Arrow, Title Batgirl, Super Harley, Super Rare Penguin, Fast Forces Penguin, Haha Joker at 50, ID's Tank. Canadian Cup winning team. But I had spent a lot of time with PJ talking about his matchup. I'm like, PJ, I want to know, what'd you do turn one? Let's talk through what you did. So a lot of help came from PJ and tell me about his Canadian Cup matchup. PJ was like, well, I took him to the water. I'm like, well, instantly that was the wrong move. You should have taken him underground. So I ended up beating Tom on map roll. We go to the rock underground. I knew that the tank drop was coming from Joker by calling out Professor X.
Yeah.
Just the rare one, not the Brute X. And I know that if I allow him to advance too far, that Star Row is in danger and can get nuked as just a matter of course.
Yeah.
And the points don't allow me to be able to recover from that. So my grand scheme was he tanked me. He killed my Star Fox. I get to retail with Groot. Now here's where the game, I guess, has would I be allowed to say like balls of steel here?
Yep.
Like, yeah. So my goal is Lockjaw's on hypersonic. I'm going to hypersonic away from the tank. I have a perfect square 3 squares away to shoot Green Arrow. The idea is Lockjaw runs over as a hypersonicer, shoots, turns into an outwitter. Groot comes over and punches. I roll a 1 on breakaway.
That's what that roll was.
Yes.
There's a lot of us wondering, what did he roll that for on stream? And we didn't see the token go under the lockjaw, I guess. We were all yapping at each other.
Yeah. Lockjaw was rolling a hypersonic breakaway to go smash, to go shoot Green Arrow. So I was like, I'm not going to get a chance to retail again. I have to go roll the 8. So Groot comes over, right? And then on the stream, right, I was nervous, admittedly. So I flung my dice. They landed cocked, and that's when you see him brought the dice tray over after that, which we still managed to roll out of.
I was hearing that you guys were throwing them on the floor, apparently, just missing the table, missing the tray altogether.
Well, the table was a little small, right? So they've got some nice, huge tables at Lucky Dice, but we were playing on a very narrow table. But yeah, Tom was the same thing. We were both like, I think it was both me were kind of just out of it, right? Because it had literally been 14 hours of HeroClix at this point.
Yeah.
And so our gameplay was spot on, but I think we were just tired of rolling dice at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
So at either rate, I fling it. It lands cocked. I fling them again. It goes off the table. I managed to roll it and keep it on the table. 8-8. Walking Wood comes out. Flurry. Green Arrow's dead. The points are now right-sized. Realistically, the game's probably done at this point. It's about halfway over time-wise at this point. All I have to do is retreat. All I have to do is kill the tank and retreat, which is what I did. Save for smacking a penguin with the surfboard from a Starl fight.
Yeah, we saw
that. That was my one little bit of flair that I wanted to add to the match. I had to break another object this year, like I did last year in the finals.
Always got to break an opponent's objects.
Yeah,
you got to break other people's toys, eh?
Mm-hmm. But no, I mean, what's funny is that ever since I did that last year, like throwing an object is one of my favorite things to do now. Whether that's just the Hulk throwing a heavy. Man, everybody gets 6 range. It's just so insanely useful. But time ran out. as soon as I had retreated back, and Tom extended his hand like a true gentleman, and it was over with from there.
Wow.
Which Tom was a wonderful opponent. Obviously, he's the voice of the Meta Lab, and um, a true gentleman. I wish we'd have had some more time to hang out in general during the weekend, but it was super busy.
Mm. Well, Tom is in the entertainment industry with that voice. How could you deny that, right? So,
Mm.
so congratulations on the big win.
Thank you.
And it's time to kind of move, sidestep as it were, to the things around the world in the realm of HeroClix. It's been known now that the Rock and WizKids are forming a partnership in order to run tournaments this coming year. Money is being dropped from the Rock World Cup next year. Rock World Cup becomes a qualifier for Worlds, and Rock events, they're getting rid of the super qualifier level of events, but adding more points and adding con exclusives or WizKids exclusive figures to this tournament series. What are your overall opinions on this one? Because I'm sure everybody wants to know.
So I think in general, I'm a little upset I don't have a chance at $4,000. But I think the big thing is it's great. Now there's obviously more details we'd like to see about where the maps, where do the maps land in legality that WizKids is going to accept. I mean, honestly, I have a little personal interest. I'd love to be able to play at some point in a WizKids event with my Powell Farm map. But I'm happy to just have more map choices in WizKids formats. So that's a huge plus for me. I think the other big thing is that Rock Cup next year, turning into a Worlds qualifier, will hopefully get enough prizing to maintain its Worlds level prestige that it's had for the past 4 to 5 years.
All right. And the state of the meta, when you walked into Rock World Cup, there's a lot of questions that we're going to talk about Secret Wars in a couple minutes.
So what's the?
Oh yeah, what was your like when you walked into Rock World Cup? How did you feel about the overall metagame and the variants and whatnot?
I expected. I guess probably the big thing was I expected to see more X-Men. But I guess the rise of really Hawkeye probably I guess scared the X-Men out of the field. Hawkeye can one turn an X-Men team, and I really expected to see more X-Men, but I saw more Hawkeyes than X-Men. But other than that, I mean, it's really varied. Pat will have the top 8 out, but there was I think 2 Unimines, a Shredder team, my Starro build, 2 Starro builds, 2 Unimines, the Green Arrow team, a Samcat build. So it was a pretty decent slice of the current meta and the current archetypes that are out there. So I mean, it's diverse.
How do you feel about the diversity, I guess?
How do I feel about the diversity? It's why I practice 300 hours. Admittedly, I probably only had about 150, about half as much practice last year. Unimind did make for a little bit less diverse meta, right? It was more Iron Cannon IDs with Unimind. A little bit more finesse, and I have to practice more to do that. So more. How do I feel about it? Tired,
exhausted
because it took a lot more time this year.
All right. Well, we're moving into to the questions from our Facebook right now. If you're watching us live in the chat, put in capital letters "question" in front of whatever you're asking, so that kind of catches my eye in the chat, and I can catch it while we go. But starting with Facebook, your wife, one Miss Sam Powell, wants to know who your favorite teammate is. You're on the spot now, buddy.
She knows it's her, for sure. But I love my entire team. There's 10 of us. on kind of clicked off competitive team, and every one of my teammates brings something to the table. But Sam knows she's number one. Like my the dice in the finals, and rolling them sixes. That's straight me channeling my teammate Zach Brazier. His quote is, "All you got to do to win a tournament is roll them fives and sixes."
It's very true. All right. Next up, Jacob Throckmorton. He wants to know, is there any figures from the new Battle World set that you anticipate to make a splash in the competitive scene?
Yeah, I mean, I think this one's been covered quite extensively. I'm excited for the WKO season to see it come to fruition, right? Sheriff Strange being top of that list. And then I'm kind of lumping in the Tri-Sentinel with that.
Yeah.
It's not really a Battle World figure, but it's legal about the same time. But Sheriff Strange, most certainly, Witch Queen LaFay. I expect to see both of those. The other chases as well. I expect to maybe even see Alex Wilder. He's
Yeah.
not. He's insane as an uncommon.
Yeah.
Mastermind, stealth, shape change, sidestep. Wow.
Which good support power do I not get? Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Sean Gladden. Congratulations, Dan. It was nice to see you again. Do you know what map or pog you want to make for next year? See you in Philadelphia, buddy.
The map I do not know yet. I think the pog will most likely be me with the Mandarin rings this year.
Always with the bling.
Yeah, well, I had the Infinity Gauntlet. I'm a Marvel guy. I don't think the pog translates well if they put me in a suit of armor like Iron Man. So Mandarin rings, Iron Man villain. It's about the closest thing I could get, I think. But I still have a few months to decide. The map I really don't know. I have about 3 ideas, and I'll have to think about it.
Okay. Next up, Chris Stockhouse wants to know if you have any pointers for his Ent army since you faced it in round 2. Is it worth playing in these WKOs without the Flashpoint Flood?
I would say probably not. I had talked to Chris originally about the build, and I really think the pip version is going to be better whenever you have the Star Trek Underground available, the Office, and not just a massive amounts of water.
Okay. Next up, Andrew Fairweather wants to know, how do you deal with jerk players?
I don't know. Internalize it. I did have one not so savory matchup this weekend, and sometimes I don't handle that very well, and I need to work on that. How I handle it is I try to be a good person and just lead them by example. But I've faced my fair share of jerk players, unfortunately, and the best thing is to just maintain a cool composure, a good attitude, and focus on winning. I haven't seen those jerk players do very well overall in the tournament, so their jerk attitudes won't last them in the game.
Similarly, I like to use biting sarcasm and overt condescension. Oh, really? You think that's the way it works? Let's go, Judge.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Wait a minute, you've done that to me before. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
He caught me. Not that we've ever. I don't think we've ever played. We won't. No, we played once before, and it was a battle royale.
Yeah, we did. We did.
And I snaked every kill I could from you just to get second place.
Right?
All right, next up.
Thanks, World's Finest.
Yeah, that was. But Monsieur Mala, beware me and my monkey.
Yeah.
Christopher Smotherman wants to know: do you think Battle World will flip the? Okay, no, I think we already addressed this. Yeah, okay. I think we kind of covered this at the Battle World set and whatnot. So move on to the next one. Nathaniel Deal. How important is theme and winning map? It seems like it's really important nowadays. Also, do you think Starro will get errated at some point?
So the theme thing is hard. Um, from my perspective, Starro was themed because it works well together.
Mhm.
In general, I still maintain theme as a trap. If you're trying to make theme work to get other things, uh, like um, I want to use Tom's team as an example here.
Mhm.
Um, Now, Tom went for theme, but his penguin engine isn't as aggressive. So, because he doesn't have the Batman enemy TA to copy and
Mhm.
move the penguins for free. Now, that doesn't necessarily hurt Tom's team. The title Batgirl is good enough to make up from the deficiencies of not having the title Harley on that team. Um, so I'm kind of getting to a point here where if you go for theme, you have to make sure your entire team works well together, which Tom's team did. But if you think about that Penguin engine, if you're going to have the Penguin engine on a team, I think that's why we didn't see any Gotham City Underworlds. Is that the Penguin engine is fine at 125-ish points, but the rest of the team build to make it Underworld just isn't that potent right
Yeah.
now. So you put the Penguin engine with other things, and it's really good. Um, Now I know some other folks have made Gotham City Underworld work really well. So it's definitely not a downgrade to anybody or anything, but just my example of don't try for theme unless the team is super cohesive. And I think that's what the Cosmic and the Gotham Cities and the X-Men gain right now. That's I don't know, Jason. I think has really been unprecedented since um, maybe since Avelia winning with Avengers um, several years ago. I mean, the entities threw off theme teams for several years.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, don't aim for theme unless your team really works well together. Map is what it is. If you're and right now, so if you're building a really good team that doesn't have theme, be prepared to just be on not your maps.
Yeah. That's what I think I kind of preached that on the show is if you're going to lose to a map, you can't play that team. Or you got to build a theme somewhere in there. If you're forcing it, like Dan said, don't force it. Make it work.
Yep.
All right. Lord of Tie, after this weekend, what do you think are the top 5 teams heading into Worlds in November to play and or to watch out for?
Well, that's Tyler. So if I didn't say Wales, he would yell at me.
Oh, he's the whale lord.
Yeah. Um, I still think at Worlds, the big thing for me to watch out for, and will always be in the back of my mind, is if your team can't handle the downtown shot from Blackbird, that's the number one thing to look out for. Um, I think at Worlds we'll see some more X-Men just due to in response to Rock Cup. So X-Men, your Starro team like mine, the Whales, Gotham City, and that's so I was X-Men, Blackbird, Swarm, Cosmic, Starro, Cosmic, other good stuff, Whales, Hawkeye, Gotham City. So really about 6 different ones. I think Gotham City is the one that you probably have to practice the most. I still don't understand what all title Batgirl does. I was looking at her card. I was like, yep, looks good. Sounds good, Tom. Sounds good.
It's when she starts doing the things that's when she becomes problematic.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, and looks like last, unless something else comes in. Brian Sinkoff has a question, and it's if I want to run a full point Goblin King with Symbiote in my upcoming WKO, any suggestions? Also, I don't want to play Colossals, so I don't give away points. Do you agree with this?
With Goblin King, yeah, there's the Carnage version with Goblin King, and I definitely don't like that version. If you want to play full point Goblin King, I think you have to have a Wheel of Steel, an iron and adamantium and vibranium, because you have to ask yourself, can I phase away and regen after scoring 3 points all day? Yes, no. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And if you think that you can't, are you going to be tempted to make that attack? Then if you answer yes to, I might make that attack, don't do it. Don't play it. As soon as you make that attack, there might be a Surtur that comes over. You might miss said Surtur. Goblin King doesn't start with Prob.
Nope.
And if you're picking Prob, you're not picking Super Senses and Impervious and Combat Reflexes and all of those other powers that you should be picking.
Okay. All right. With that, I want to extend an extra special thank you to you, Daniel. Congratulations on being the first 2-time Rock Cup World Champion. Is there anything you want to plug on your way out, like your own podcast, perhaps?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is I have my article coming out on Majestics with my team write-up or attorney write-up. I am the host of Clickstuff Podcast. We are on Facebook, Clickstuff HeroClix Podcast Discussion Group, SoundCloud, Podbean, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, all under Clickstuff.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jason.
No problem. I also want to send extra special thanks to our patrons over at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. You guys help us keep the show and the channel running, in spite of the fact that we can't do 7 days a week anymore. Also want to thank MajesticCCG.com. Check out Daniel's article coming up sometime this week on the Apex Insiders. That's MajesticCCG.com/Apex-Insiders. $3 a month. Access to some fantastic brains like the two-time Rock World Cup champion, Mr. Daniel Powell. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Daniel, once again, thank you very much for joining us. We exit from the greatest of mad minds, one Mr. Daniel Powell. And once again, have a good night, everybody.